Good morning, Venice. This is Marco Moretti, reporting live from Venice's annual regatta, dedicated this year to the 100th anniversary of Rivivera Venezia, or the Revive Venice project. I'm here with Mayor Botticelli. Mr. Mayor, why is this such an important day for the people of Venice?
It's hard to believe, Marco, but 100 years ago, this city was sinking. The canals were filled with garbage, clashes between tourists and locals were common, and our historic city was dying.
That is hard to believe, and that's what prompted the Revive Venice project, right?
Exactly. The plan was to save the city by floating it.
And how exactly does one float a city?
Well, our civil, structural, marine, and other engineers used the engineering design process to research, plan, test, and retest their ideas.
That sounds time-consuming.
It was, and expensive. They built many models, for example, of St. Mark's Square. Meanwhile, materials engineers developed a graphene composite that is lightweight but strong. They used this to create buoyant bases for our cityscape.
Floating the city also allowed you to create new resident-only and tourist-focused zones, right?
Yes, that has relieved the tension between tourists and residents. Now, the huge cruise ships and tourist traffic are focused in New Venice, a collection of our new neighborhoods located a short distance from historic Venice.
You seem to have matched the architecture in the new residential zones to the historic style.
Yes, and we even moved some of the original buildings. Every neighborhood has its own school, church, hospital, public garden, library, police station, and fire station.
Speaking of firefighting, I saw an emergency submarine in the Grand Canal earlier.
Yes, emergency submarines can dart under the floating neighborhoods to respond quickly to an incident.
Rivivera Venezia had two goals. One was to float the city, but the other was to make Venice waste-free by 2100. That's part of what we're celebrating today. What are some of the highlights of the waste-free solution?
I'm most excited about how we power our city. Our massive floating neighborhoods harness tidal energy and store it in graphene composite batteries. The exciting thing is that this process creates no emissions. Also, the city's commercial and industrial waste is treated at our algae plants, which use that waste to generate biofuel. Power plants convert some of this into electricity, and the rest fuels cruise ships docked in the port.
Those cruise ships require a lot of energy.
Yes, they were one of the biggest polluters in Venice 100 years ago. Today, they use our biofuel. Best of all, the process is circular. The CO2 emissions from the power plants and the cruise ships are fed back to the algae.
You've really taken advantage of your city's location on the Mediterranean. Not every city can run on algae.
Well, we got the idea for algae power because our canals were full of algae, but any city could grow algae indoors. However, we have leveraged our climate to grow genetically modified Russian dandelion. Although boats are the primary mode of transportation, Venice also has a lot of cyclists, and the rubber in all those tires comes from dandelions. The natural rubber degrades and becomes compost that helps us grow more flowers.
Fascinating circular solution. Tell me, how does Venice keep so clean? I haven't seen a single piece of trash in the canals.
Well, we have steep fines for littering, and Venice banned plastic back in 2023. Now, all unwanted consumer goods are composted, recycled, reused, or remanufactured. Most packaging is even edible.
Sounds tasty. Thanks so much for talking with me, Mr. Mayor, and good luck at your speech this evening before the fireworks display. We'll be back after these messages from our sponsors. There's no better way to see Old Venice than from a launch point in New Venice. Start your day with views of St. Mark's Square. Algae-powered speed ferries depart every half hour to historic Venice. When you're ready to head back for the day, relax on a gondola ride, enjoy an outdoor concert in one of our beautiful public gardens, or if it's hot, cool off at our 8-story water park. It's New Venice with a historic touch.
We all have to grapple with uncomfortable questions, such as what happens to our bodies after we're gone. Make the environmentally friendly choice. Resumation, or water cremation, produces no emissions. You and your loved ones can share a family reef, beautifying and regenerating the ocean ecosystem. We all search for significance. Find yours in a coral reef.
At Venice Recycling Centers, pick up what you need and drop off what you don't. Your items will be recycled, repaired, or remanufactured into something new. Good afternoon. This is Marco Moretti, continuing live from Venice. I'm speaking with local Venetian artisan Lorenzo Marchini. Lorenzo, what are you selling there?
My business collects used clothing and repurposes the materials to create unique new designs.
Have you always lived in Venice?
No, I moved here 15 years ago. The city is great for young families like mine. Since Rivivera Venezia, the schools all teach kids about the engineering design process. The concerts, regattas, public gardens, and architecture are fantastic, and the zoning solutions implemented by the city planners make living here affordable again.
What a great story of city revival. Do many Venetians work as artisans the way you do?
Oh yes, my friend Gabriella makes glass replicas of Venetian buildings out of recycled glass, but artisans are everywhere now.
What other jobs do people have in revived Venice?
People work at the university, in the rubber factory, the biogas plant, and the reservation center, and in the local food industry.
So do you recommend the local cuisine?
It couldn't be fresher. Venice gets its food from local orchards, aquaponic farms, seaweed gardens, poultry, and fish farms. When rising sea levels threatened the food supply, agricultural engineers had to figure out how to maximize food production on floating farmland. The result was molto delicioso.
Tell us, what's the best part about living in Venice?
Well, I have access to all these great historic and cultural features, but I live in a residents-only neighborhood where the silly tourists are not allowed to take pictures of me, or my house, or my flowers. I call them silly, but I do really love the tourists. They are key to our economic success, and our police force and zoning laws keep the peace between us.
There are lots of tourists here for the regatta and the fireworks.
Great! I love to watch fireworks.
Me too. For Venice News, Markham Reddy signing off.